Hey guys, welcome back to my devlog series. I'm Brandon, and for this video, I wanted to get an ability for the character fully 100% complete. And I don't just mean the code, I mean everything else too. Particles, design, animation, and sound effects, the whole works. So basically what I was trying to tackle this time was getting good game feel, and that's a design aspect that's unique to video games. Video games, like movies, they're meant to tell some sort of story. And in a movie scene, getting the right camera angle is important. The music and the sound design is important. The lighting is super important for setting the right mood, and etc., etc. You need to worry about all of that with video games too. But again, the unique design aspect with video games is game feel. How does it feel to control your character? Do they feel natural when they move around? Does he move too slow or too fast? Does the world feel alive? Does the grass sway or ripple when your character runs into it? Do his attacks feel powerful? So that's what I wanted to tackle with this video, and I had a lot of fun working with this stuff over the last couple of weeks. And you'll see right now in the background I'm playing Hollow Knight, and holy Christ, if you haven't played this game, you're living under a rock. You need to turn off my video immediately and go play this game, because that's way more important. So this game has amazing game feel, and you can't really just pinpoint it to one thing. It's everything, from the particles to the sound effects, it's everything. Watch this. It just feels so freaking good to run around in this world, and I'm hoping that I can accomplish the same thing in my game. Anyways, before all that game feel stuff, I had a couple of other little things I wanted to tackle. I had a bug where if you picked up an item, you could have both the offense menu and the defense menu open at the same time, which is totally not cool, but it's all fixed now. Also, take a listen. You hear that? Me neither. That's because I learned how to reduce background noise using Audacity, so hopefully the sound quality is a little better in this video compared to my last ones. So this jitter issue that I mentioned in my last video, you can see it right here, and where you're supposed to be looking. If you look at the character, he's perfectly smooth. You don't see any kind of screw-ups with him. Where you should be looking is these background images here, the environment objects in the game. There's just a slight bit of stuttering to them, and I wouldn't say it's enough to be game-breaking, but it's enough to piss me off. So I did a lot of research today to try to figure out how to fix that. We're going to set the RB velocity to be our movement here. And then I can go back to my camera follow script, because that's what's causing the jitter, is the camera following the character around. Having all of that in the fixed update doesn't really make any sense, because fixed update is really only where you're supposed to put objects that are affected by physics. The camera should not be in there. The camera should always be in late update. And just wait for it to compile here. And now you should see that it's not working at all. And that is because I forgot to change the move speed. The velocity, you need to set it much, much higher. So let's try something like 400. And look at that. So you'll notice it's much smoother than it was, but it's still not perfect. If you look around at the background, the environment objects in the game, there's still a slight jitter into them. So I did more research to try to figure out what was going on here. But what I actually ended up doing was I made a build of my game so that I'm not actually playing it within the game engine. I'm playing it as a .exe file, like it's an actual game. And in here, look at that. It is perfectly silky, silky smooth. So I am super, super happy about that. The next thing that I realized was when you're playing the game, the health bar actually gets hidden by objects in the world, which is Definitely not what I want. So what I ended up doing was, there seems to be several methods in order to fix this, but the one that I liked the best was just changing the shader. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new material. And the shader is going to be what? UI overlay no z test. That's what we're going to do. So in our health bar image here, we're going to apply that material. And I think that's it. Yeah, there you go. All right, next we've got an actual projectile spell sort of working. They look like these creepy floating tomatoes that aren't really affected by gravity, and they aren't frickin' flying to where I'm clicking, but they're in there. So I did some tweaking and got them shooting right to the mouse pointer, but they give me the finger and disappear through the ground, and I should have just made a 2D game. Next, I've got them shooting right, but their colliders were interfering with the player and knocking them back a little bit every time I shot them. But I discovered you can easily change that by tweaking the collision matrix, like so. So now the player's projectiles can't collide with the player, period. Easy peasy. Next, I noticed that when I clicked something that wasn't the ground, the projectiles were aiming up to try to hit that point, and I don't want that. I basically want the mouse pointer only to register clicks on the ground. So I created a layer mask, which got that all fixed up. So now they always only shoot straight. What this means, though, is if the player is on a slope, he'll shoot up or down that slope if I set that slope's layer to be the ground. I don't have any slopes in the game right now, but I think I'm okay with that. So now I've just been working on my test spell here, just making sure that all of these actually get implemented. I can't implement damage yet because I don't have any enemies in the game, but starting from pierce enemy down, everything's working well. So you've seen this. This is it working as you saw it before. So right now, pierce enemy is not checked. So right now, whenever it hits anything, it's going to get destroyed. If I check that, it'll actually pierce right through objects. And you can see after a certain amount of time, they destroy themselves. They don't stay in the game forever. That's time before cast destroys there. That's working. We can crank up the projectile speed to be faster if we want. That's all working. Time between casts, I have that set to 0 right now, but that's the amount of time that goes in between each cast. So right now I can only cast a spell every 2 seconds. Can add a player knockback if we want to, which will just push the character slightly in the direction opposite of where the spell is being cast. We can crank that up to something crazy if we want. It's actually kind of fun. Or just something minuscule that's hardly noticeable. But yeah, that's all working now. So next I would like to work on making sure that the mana cost is being implemented properly, which means I need to implement a simple mana system next. I love when things just work out on the first try. You can see my mana bar up here. That's all working properly. Once you're out of mana, you won't cast anything anymore, and you'll see a little message down here in the console saying not enough mana. Next up, I'd like to actually make it a little bit more fancy than just red spheres being shot around. So I started working on a different projectile last night. I had envisioned kind of this wolf projectile with like fire coming out behind it and all that stuff. But I was having, you know, from the side view, it looks, he's missing some teeth, but it was starting to come along. But I was having all of this artifacting along down his snout here, up on top of his head. There was all sorts of mistakes I had made, and I know what I did wrong now. But it doesn't even matter at this point because I've decided that I remember this is a top-down game, and even without all this artifacting, you're not really going to be able to tell what you're looking at, so it seems kind of like a waste. I decided to go for something simple, just like this here. I'll let the particle system take care of all the fancy stuff. This will do just fine. So I'll bring that into my project now. Yeah, I disabled the mana cost for now, and because I was shooting spheres before, I couldn't tell, but yeah, these are not, I would like them to rotate properly to be facing in the direction that I'm shooting, because right now they're just always facing in the same direction, so I'll need to change that. Next, particle systems, and God, I love making particles. I love making particles. This is where you make your crap actually look good, so long as you don't overdo it. So I tested out a fair few different particle systems, but eventually I landed on this one, and I really like it. You can see the trail behind the projectile there, as well as the impact explosion it makes when it actually hits something. Oh, and I also added the option to make the projectile rotate around the z-axis while it flies, which I really like, and I'm going to keep it that way because I think it looks better. Next, I made a small additional particle system for when you cast the spell, and you can see it coming out of the wand there every time I cast it. I wanted it small, but it kind of felt like something was missing when that wasn't there, and I'm pretty happy with this now that it's there. So the next thing that I added was a camera shake when the projectile hits something, and the effect, you probably wouldn't notice it if I didn't point it out, but I really like it because if I hit the tree from this side, you can see the camera kind of juts to the left this way. If I hit it from the other side, it kind of juts the other way. So the camera shake is actually based on the velocity of the projectile, which adds this really nice effect that I really like. And another thing that you might notice, it's kind of hard to tell because the character is pretty small, but I actually added a cell shaded effect to the character as well as an outline to kind of give him this nice cartoony look to him. And it's quite obvious when you're up close to him, but from a distance, I actually really like it up close too, to be honest, but it looks really nice from a distance, and I'm quite happy with this more cartoony look. I think that's going to go really nicely, at least on the characters with my art style. So I also added some post-processing to the project, so I've just got a test projectile right here. Without it on, it doesn't really look like it's glowing at all, so I just added a bloom effect to make sure that it's glowing. So now it does make a difference when you're playing. I like the effect quite a lot. Now there's a nice glow to them, which is what I was going for. Hey guys, so in editing this video, I realized that this one's turning out to be quite a lot longer than what I was hoping it to be. I generally don't want these to be too much more than 10 minutes in length, and it's looking like this one's going to end up being well over 20 minutes because there was just a lot of work involved in getting this spell done. So I'm actually going to cut this into two parts. So I'm going to cut this video here, and I'll see you in the next one. I'll put a link in the description below for the second video just in case you need that. Thanks.